Autophiles. I was just going through my Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid video and I realized I mentioned something that I didn't fully address. The Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid is now the cheapest hybrid that you can buy in Malaysia. And that got me thinking about the last time I did a video on the cheapest hybrid you could buy in Malaysia. And I think it was the Honda City Hatchback RS EHEV. One hell of a name. Anyway, I thought I'd revisit that video I did. It was a likes and dislikes video on the Honda City Hatchback RS EHEV. I wanted to cover all the things that I liked and disliked about the car without doing a full review. And I thought, okay, now that this car is out, the Tiggo Cross Hybrid, and it's cheaper by more than 10,000 ringgit versus that Honda City Hybrid, does it address any of the same points that I mentioned? So I thought I'd go point by point, each like and each dislike, and see if, the Tiggo Cross got it wrong or fixed it somehow, because Chery has an uphill battle trying to go up against Honda in this realm. Honda has been pushing hybrids for a long time. Making a single mistake in this realm is very, very costly. So let's see whether they got it right or not. I remember the first thing I liked about the Honda City Hybrid was that perceived quality, the perceived value that Honda really brings to their cabins, because they use a lot of stuff from their more expensive models, especially the switchgear. And actually, if you think about it, I think Chery did the same thing. When you go into the Tiggo Cross Hybrid, you see those two 10.25-inch displays. It's exactly what you get on the Tiggo 7 Pro, on the Tiggo 8 Pro. Could be bigger on that one, but it's the same layout. And you also get that on the Omoda 5. So yeah, you're not missing out on anything in terms of cabin perceived quality. My god, my cat. Now, what about the first dislike on the Honda City Hybrid? Well, I think Chery addressed that pretty well, because the City didn't have a 360-degree camera, which the Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid has, and it didn't have powered seats. The driver's seat on the Chery Tiggo Cross is powered, so yeah, it's hard to fault Chery on that front. But then we go to the second like of the City Hybrid, and there were a few pieces of equipment which were quite unique, and that was Apple CarPlay, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, ultra seats in the rear, remote start, and walk-away auto lock. Now, ultra seats, I have to give it to the Honda City Hatchback, because that is a unique and really useful thing, but it's not on the Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid. But I think everything else is kind of there. You've got leather-wrapped steering, which was quite nice in the Chery Tiggo Cross, and it's a unique steering from the hybrid to the petrol. It's even nicer in the hybrid. Remote start is there as well. Apple CarPlay, you don't have to say it's there also. And the Chery Tiggo Cross also kind of has walk-away auto lock. So you just walk away, the car locks itself. Not only that, when you approach the car, the wing mirrors open up, and then it unlocks when you touch the handle. So it does have those similar unique features, except for ultra seats. So I think it kind of has it there. Maybe the 12,000 ringgit difference between the Chery and the Honda goes to the ultra seats. Now let's go to my next dislike, which was that the City didn't have its identity anymore. It was kind of losing its direction, because in Japan they don't sell the City anymore. It became a very ASEAN and Latin America thing. I don't think that's a very big deal, because the car has to work in this market. And also, I don't think the Chery has one leg up here, because Malaysians are not familiar with what a Tiggo Cross is. And in fact, if you look into some backstory, some history on the Tiggo Cross, it was called something else before. So I think this is a draw for both of them, but it's a very subjective area. You look at the car market today compared to 2 years ago when I published that video, nobody really cares about who your brand is, what the brand is, what's the history. It's more about, is the product good? Do you have a plan to stay here and expand? Those kind of questions really matter. And of course, pricing as well, value for money. That seems to be the name of the game in 2025. So yes, identity in the Chery Tiggo Cross is not that established. I'm going to call it a draw here. Now let's go to my last like on the Honda City RS EHEV. And I really liked that it was a very advanced hybrid system on the Honda. And in fact, Honda had gone through so many different types of hybrid systems before settling on EHEV. Before, it was called iMMD when it was on the previous generation models, which we didn't get here. But the EHEV system is quite advanced. The kind of issue that came up later was that the Civic and the CR-V also came out with EHEV models, but those were powered by the 2-liter engine. And when you sit in the 2-liter EHEV and you compare it against the 1.5-liter EHEV, which is in the City models, The 2 liter is actually a lot smoother. The engine doesn't kick in randomly and there's more energy storage. It just doesn't have the weaknesses of the 1.5 liter. So when I'm looking at it now, I was thinking back on my experiences with the Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid, and it didn't also have the weaknesses of that 1.5 version of the EHEV. The engine coming on to power the battery was never intrusive, and I remember when I was on the Karak highway, the throttle modulation was just so predictable. It really felt like a very mature hybrid system, which is quite crazy considering that Honda and a lot of other Japanese makes have such a long history with hybrids. You would have thought that they would have gotten a lot of things better or more smoother by now. But Chery has come out of nowhere with this Chery Super Hybrid system, and it's actually very mature and very usable. So at this I'm going to call it a draw, but maybe actually give the edge a little bit to the Tiggo Cross because of the next point, which is my last dislike, which was that the City Hatchback RS EHEV felt a bit like two cars. It went from being the loudest to the quietest in its segment, whether or not the engine was powering the battery. This factor, I think, is where the Tiggo Cross Hybrid really shines, because that hybrid system, yeah, the engine does kick on to power the battery, but it's not intrusive at all. When we were driving on the highway, I don't remember it being that loud. Of course, we were doing a fuel efficiency run, but it was not intrusive and it was very predictable, and you could kind of game the system because you could see the charge level and all that very accurately, and you could predict when the engine would come on. Maybe I would call it a draw, but I think for this point, Chery has the leg up as well. The Japanese have had a leg up on budget-oriented hybrids for 20 plus years, but now we're seeing new players come in, not historically tied with hybrid technology, but I mean, just looking at the points I raised today, Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid does it cheaper and kind of does it better as well. But what do you think? I personally preferred the way the petrol version of the Tiggo Cross handled at high speed, but I understand a lot of people are now concerned about the whole Budi 95 thing, and they want a car that can stretch out for 800, 1000 km with one full tank. Will you buy a hybrid, and would you consider a Chery Tiggo Cross Hybrid, or would you go for a Japanese hybrid instead? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.